we in go mode?
I guess.
Okay. We're coming on the 4 o'clock hour. I'll do the official here in a minute, just so that no one's chastising us for starting early.
You're right at 4.
Thank you, Martha. Okay, folks, incredibly, it's June. It's almost July. Hard to believe. We kept waiting for March to end, and it's nice to see everyone here. We have a quorum excluding Steve Bellata, who had family business, contacted me earlier in the week, and everybody got his communication regarding the Audubon initiative.
Yep.
We'll discuss that later, Martha. Okay? And welcome back to our director of golf. He's still basking in the glow of Old St. Andrews. With no public present, I'd like to move right to the consent agenda. And with one addition, thanks to Mike Sarajan, I had the May minutes circulated as well. So we'll take the special planning minutes, I guess, first, and then a motion for acceptance of our May minutes. Okay?
I would so move, even though I wasn't present. I did note that we should probably correct the vision statement language, because we agreed to remove the word dedicated, and I think Jack's
Yes.
suggestion, and put in the word committed.
Exactly.
I think
So if
we
we
And
do
I
that-
left it.
I
I
thought
left
we
that.
did at the last meeting.
I had pulled it up on the computer, and I told Roman, I said, I sent it out, and I didn't make that correction, so I appreciate that, Paul. Okay.
Not just checking and seeing what you wrote in minutes.
Yeah, it was purposeful. Okay, and a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? With no
Aye.
discussion? Aye, thank you. Okay, the May minutes, it seems like 10,000 years ago, but motion to approve?
So
So moved.
move with the same correction.
Okay.
Because, well, actually, too small. Mr. Conley suggested changing the word dedicated to committed,
Yeah.
and we have the word work. And then up above, no, we don't have to touch that. We just have to put it in here. That's
Okay.
it. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Paul. So a motion and a second?
Second.
Okay, Martha Duffy, second. And any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Director of Golf report, Roman Greer, and Roman, again, great to have you back. We're on the cusp of July 4th, and I'm sure you have a lot to share.
Yeah, wonderful. So as I mentioned, everybody, it was a little late for me to put together a report coming back. I do just want to mention the efforts of our staff. Currently, the golf course is probably in the best shape it's ever been in since I've been in Cranberry Valley. I mean, it is in excellent shape. We get the reviews every day. We're getting online reviews every day praising the golf course. And Sean Fernandez, Rob Donovan really working the golf course hard and doing a great job. On the tournament side, we're in full tournament season with Dick Fagan running the tournaments, doing excellent work. Mike Sarajan in our office, among his other duties, he really has to work on the pre-booking of tee times and management of the tee sheet, and doing excellent work, and all of our seasonal folks as well. You've probably seen Sean Fernandez on a mower lately. You know, we had a injury on the staff,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
Sean Fernandez had to fill in on a mower. So, I mean, we've really been a little short-staffed in that regard. The gentleman who was injured is back to work, but that's good news. So I just wanted to kudos to the staff.
Quick question,
Yeah.
Roman. Regarding staffing going forward, is there a contingency plan to hire the kind of people, to hire as many people as he needs? I would hope.
Yes, yep. So he has a full staff right now.
Okay.
He has what he needs. More than anything, what the problem in the past has been how many weeks we can keep them for. So last year, we had to kind of cut the weeks on the back end of the end of the season. We had to cut loose our seasonal staff a little early, and then we started them a little late just to make adjustments. You know, as I mentioned many times here, minimum wage adjustments to the staff's salaries.
right.
So because of that, we did have to cut some, but we do have a full staff.
And technically FY '23 shows up July 1st.
Yes, and in the new fiscal year, we have what we need for full staff, full season.
How
Perfect.
many seasonal workers are there?
Oh, gosh, we're usually between 40 and 50 staff total on the golf course.
On the maintenance?
No, not maintenance, total. Total of the
What
golf
about
course.
maintenance?
I'd say 15. I think we're right around 15. It depends.
Are you working 35-hour weeks, or?
It depends also. So we have some guys working 20, some guys working 35. And, we have a few 3-day-a-weekers. We have a spread of, we kind of take guys when they're available. But it's about 15, I believe. And that's right. Six full-timers, and the total crew's about
9
15.
seasonal.
About that, yeah, Paul. So we have a few guys that do 3 days a week, a few
Yeah.
guys that do 5. So. And that's all I
Okay.
have for you, Clem. I didn't prepare a director's report today. I just prepared
Okay,
some documents to support the agenda.
Any comments or questions?
I,
I have questions on some of the stuff when we handed out.
I think that's
Okay,
all later
well,
in the
Yeah,
agenda.
I think I've got that next on the agenda under new business. If we can go to that, the possible review of the Mungem report, and I said possible because I wasn't sure whether we
yeah.
had it in hand, so we have it, and
Yeah.
I'll turn that discussion over to you.
Yeah, sure.
Do
So
you have a hard copy of the whole
I,
thing?
yeah, I do. I only have one, so if you want to review it now, I'd like to keep,
Oh,
this,
I just got home, so I didn't have a
That's-
chance to.
That's fine, yeah. Well, that's why, so this came in late, this came in the mail while I was on vacation, and so I've only had a quick chance to review it. What I would do is, I'd recommend everybody spend some time reading it. It's exactly what I hoped it would be. What it does is it shows a larger variance between the tee sets, so that you have a nice short yardage tee set. But then, where you see on the existing scorecard, like the silver and the red tees are very similar. He spreads those out a little bit. So take a look at it. The sketches, hole by hole, really give a lot of detail about golf course setup. And this would also accomplish our goal of getting a re-rating because the difference in the yardage is over 100 yards per tee set for the red and green.
So that opens that door.
So now we qualify for a re-rating.
That's good.
Well,
Okay.
Just a question, I looked at the proposed card, however,
Mhm.
and I'm not sure why he flopped red and green.
Yeah, that's not a big deal, but that was his suggestion that came with the report, is he suggests we flop red and green just because he thinks there's a stigma between, the red tees carry a gender bias with them. And so, that was just a suggestion of his. That's not something that I find to be a big deal. We can discuss that however and handle it however. I do support removing gender bias, from colors, whether it's, there's a number of ways golf courses do that, but, there's nothing else really behind that. That was a suggestion of his and he put it on paper.
I
So-
thought that's what it was.
Yeah.
So our existing
Made sense.
tees, however, that we're playing from now, the reds,
Yeah.
it appears on the scorecard that there's only a 185-yard difference.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
We're going from
For what's
55,
currently,
60
55, 68 to 53,
53,
83.
83.
But that's red
Right,
and
but-
green.
Well, I mean, that's sort of just silly in a way, because we were playing from what were the reds. He changed the name, so that now the reds are the greens, and he only changed that, so, I'm thinking our ladies are going to continue playing from the greens, but I expected that was going to be a greater difference than 185 yards.
Yeah,
And 490 is a very short course for ladies' leagues to play.
Sure. Well, the way I envision it is, I think the ladies who currently play the red tees will play. Again, let's throw out that color, whatever. He called what he suggests is green. It just shortened the course a little bit, but I think what he was looking to do was create a difference with the reds and the silvers, so that that's, if you remove any colors or any kind of gender bias with them, it's just spreading out the tee sets yardage-wise a little bit more. I find it very appropriate. I think you got a 5,600-yard course, you want longer. For the current course, well, as I mentioned to you, I didn't tell him, like, let's make sure we shorten this course for the ladies. I just said, let's please look at it, evaluate it, and so that it matches all different age segments well, and golfer segments well.
I thought maybe what he would have done is with the existing red tees, is provide par threes that were reachable for women who will still be playing that course, I can pretty much tell you.
Well, I mean,
With an iron to reach the par three, and I don't think he did that.
okay. Well, I mean, the obvious answer there is if they can't reach it, they should move up the tee set.
Oh, generally, most courses have at least one or two par threes that can be reachable with an iron.
Well, okay. Everybody's different, obviously, what they hit irons with, but, obviously.
A pitching wedge, a 9-iron, something like that.
I think that, this is just a question, Roman. In looking at the existing card, I think the biggest par three that's the challenge for the women is 17.
Right.
And so you've got the red at 175, you've got the green at 150, but the green is not 150
Right.
existing.
Right.
It's 114.
Right.
So he's moving it back?
So
Well,
is that just a mistake on
so
17?
originally on the existing card, that was a mistake. We've discussed that here before. That 150 doesn't exist. There's no tee
Right.
set at 150. So the course was rated to a, and the scorecard shows a distance that is not there. That all came out of the rating from Mass Golf last time. But so, again, Mark's, the only thing I charged Mark with doing was come up with scorecards using our existing tees. So it would cost us nothing. We wouldn't have to build anything to do it, using our existing tee boxes. So in this case, on hole 17, there's the two distances, 164 or 112.
I think the silver lining, again, is the fact that this opens that door to the USGA rating, correct?
Can I ask a-
What kind of time?
And it creates a difference between the silvers and reds, which really
Can I
didn't
ask a
exist
dumb
before.
question? What's the difference between green and red?
Well, yeah, I mean, so,
Yardage, you mean?
Well, no, I mean, who plays the
Who would play,
green and who
who
plays the
should
red?
play the green?
so currently the
High
greens are our
handicappers.
most forward tees. Currently, they're our most forward tees. And the only, I don't know on a daily basis who plays them, but I know the Women's Association is encouraging people to play them, and the Women's 9-hole league plays them every other week. They play red one week, green the next week.
So they're playing a 5,300-yard course then?
Yeah.
That's what he's suggesting. Yeah, that's what he's suggesting, but, currently it's
There is no
55, 6-8.
Complete green tees now.
So they're
We're
taking
currently
a
55.
couple of, they're taking like 200 yards away from
Yeah.
where it is originally to what he's proposing.
Yes, almost
correct?
200, yes.
I'm just curious too,
I
Norman.
mean,
Oh, I'm
I,
sorry.
I think it's gonna make a very positive difference, Roman. Once the MGA comes in here
Right.
and looks at what we're proposing and comes up with the rating.
Right.
I think that's gonna make a major, because our slopes are so different from the red and the green. And
And we will.
there are disadvantages playing from the reds and then going to the greens in that, let's say, myself would lose 6 strokes going from red to green. And sometimes the way you play from the green isn't that much better
No, I agree.
than the red.
This takes a step
So
towards
that,
fixing that.
so
yeah.
I think this makes it more even.
Yeah, I do
But
too.
we don't know
Equitable.
we don't know what the rating is going to be. and it
Well, I'm
could
being
be-
anxious to
and
see
could-
what it
yeah.
is.
Sure.
It will be, but right now, we do have reds and greens, and the women are, the Women's League is trying to get women to play from the green. Most women do not want to play from the green. In fact, even I played with the highest handicapper in our league, and she won't play from the green.
Right. Well,
but I-
sometimes, yeah, you just
I
have to
think it
break a
just-
barrier there. I mean,
I
Jack,
do
you remember,
too.
we dealt with this with the men's sweeps. Nobody would play the silver, and now it's almost an entirely silver league. I mean, so, I mean, isn't that true? That's, yeah, we couldn't
Yeah,
get
It's now 60/40.
60-40, yeah. We couldn't get them to play it.
As a,
And
as a committee, we've done our due diligence.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Well-
Roman, just, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just had one quick question. I'd be curious, because I'm sure that he being an architect, and we are not, that he must have done some comparatives, with similar yardages of like golf courses.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. I'm
Maybe,
sorry, he
maybe
did-
it's
he
too
did.
finite a question, but I'd be interested in what kind of analysis he did, because I'm sure he had to have done that.
Well, there are standards that you're trying to hit for your different population segments, and I'm sure he put that into the equation.
Yeah, I was just curious. I'm sorry, Jack.
No, Roman it doesn't mention any new tees at all. It sounds like he can do all this on the existing tee sets.
That was the plan. So when I engaged to do this, it was using the existing tee sets. So yeah, this costs no money. Other than, there's a few areas, I mean, yeah, this costs no money. There's a few areas that you'll see the areas highlighted for red that he's suggesting cutting in new fairway tees, which is really a small process. So yes, it's true. This is very easy on a maintenance standpoint to create this golf course. My idea would be, now that we have this, I'm going to engage Mass Golf to rate the golf course and try to schedule that. I'm hoping they can do it this fall or this late summer or fall. And what I'm hoping to do is, so then when they come out for that rating day, we would have this course set up so that they could rate it.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't have this set up on a regular basis yet for posting and for scorecard until what I'd say is, based on their timetable, I'd say we debut it for next season. So once we get it rated, so we can print scorecards and debut it for posting next season, and possibly new tee markers and all that stuff.
So this is a done deal with no discussion.
Oh, I'm not saying that, but I do support it, and I think that I think it's I endorse it. I think it's the plan we were looking for. I mean, so I wouldn't.
Characterize.
I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you hire a professional to come in and do the architecture, and I wouldn't. I think it looks very appropriate to me.
When we're in Florida, we're playing 5,000,
Yeah,
5,100.
yeah, sure.
We're not playing higher than that.
They've always.
And we come up here.
The USGA has
It's
always
hard.
said, "Wow," and we get a lot of comments from the general public. Wow, you're a lot of the comments. If you look online, reviews on our golf course will say, "Great course, beautiful condition, too long for ladies."
Oh, I am one person that would agree with that, but I thought we could take our existing red tees, using the existing tees, and we could shorten that by more than 185 yards. And we would be somewhere around, say, 51, 52. And I thought that might be a nice compromise as well.
Okay. Well, I mean, you can get in a little bit of trouble when you try to have an outcome, a preconceived outcome of a certain yardage, whereas the holes kind of dictate, and also our existing tee sets kind of dictate what some yardages. So.
Martha and Carol, do you envision flip-flopping the colors will have an issue?
I don't think we should flip-flop the colors.
See, my feeling is, and I said this to you, Carol, I felt when I read it this afternoon, I said to myself, this is psychological. It's psychological, Jack, because we've always known the red is the woman tees, right? I don't see a big deal if the women want to play from the old reds, which is now green. I don't see
I
it
just
to
think
be a
it's-
problem.
To me, it's a game, and I personally don't like it. I think
I've got no feeling necessarily about that. I know a lot of courses do, like, because they're trying to get away from the gender bias on the colors that we're also used to. They'll do goofy things like call them, these are the member tees and these are the tournament tees. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Some places do numbers, the number 1 set of tees, number 2 sets. I don't know, I think that's all kind of bulky, but I do, when I was away playing with my family, I played the green tees. Just for, I said, hey, just based on the wind and what we want to play, let's go with the greens. And I don't know if I would have done that if it was the red tees, because there's a gender stigma with that. So,
Well, you want to enjoy it.
yeah. So I think, I think it's worth considering what he's suggesting, because, he's as a golf course architect, he's an expert in this, and we can really do what we want to do with it. So the naming of the tees or the coloring of the tees is really, like you said, it's psychological. It's
We can
not-
make it orange,
Yeah,
purple.
we could come up with some
Teal.
off the wall colors. Yeah,
That's a big color
Teal.
in Florida, teal.
yeah a lot of places are trying to
I'm gonna
tackle
call
this.
Martha Stewart.
Yeah,
Call Martha.
A lot of golf courses have tried to address this with getting rid of the reds and the whites and,
Yeah.
and
You know,
just the
Pine,
general
at Pine Valley,
Yeah,
they're all green.
yeah, okay.
Every marker is green. You just have to figure it out. Is that the furthest, is that the furthest one? To my understanding, but interesting. Okay, is there anything as a group that you would like to see, Roman, us to do?
Well, I think in the issue of timeliness, I endorse this. I'm
In other
I'm
words,
going to reach out to
yeah.
Mass Golf and try to schedule a rating, because for timeliness,
Get
I
'em
think
as soon
that's
as
very important, yeah.
possible.
And
Okay.
feel free to read through the report, and, but, I don't imagine there'd be any serious objections to what's in here. I think it's exactly what we were looking for.
I'll be
You wanna-
interested to see what the rating is.
I mean, the next scheduled meeting is July 19th.
And when the next rating comes in, the one thing that we'll do is it'll be set in stone and accepted, and comments about it we won't go down that road again, because last time that's where we got in trouble with the rating. The door was open to, okay, let's all comment on the rating, and really it's not. It's set by the governing board. So.
Okay, that takes us to the next item on the agenda, the USGA visit dates, Roman?
Okay, so I don't have the exact dates yet, but we are engaged with USJ in setting the dates. So I'll have that in the next meeting.
Okay.
We're pursuing that currently.
Great.
I was at a little bit of a sticky point where I can arrange the date currently, but they require prepayment, and you can't prepay for a service in one fiscal year that you receive in the next. Just a municipal
Has to be
account.
after July.
Yeah.
So it has to be after July. But we're trying to go in the back door and reserve the date through the back
Yeah.
door. But they just, unfortunately, they won't allow.
It's just a comment regarding the committee's input in the past. I thought this was a good idea. If possible, I would like to see that visit in August. When you get into September and there's been a little bit of rain, everything comes back to perfect. It is what it is. In August, it's prime time. I think it's important to show the golf course exactly as is. And that way we get the best possible bang for our buck. And are there any other services other than the agronomy piece, Roman, because I know the USGA will weigh in on anything you ask them, I believe.
Yeah, they do offer some different services.
Primarily, our focus has been agronomy. The agronomy side.
We're going to have the agronomists come in. That's what we're going to do. And so it'll be focused on the agronomy side of it.
Okay. Okay, great. Any other questions?
August would be good, I think.
Yeah.
Good.
They make you prepay, huh?
So in order to, that's a brand new thing, they make you prepay. And so I called the USGA and I said, hey, we just want to, because we can't be the only municipality that's trying to follow the rules. And you just cannot, in municipal accounting, pay for a service in one fiscal year that you receive in the next. So we're trying to go through the back door, through Sean's connections, and secure a date with the gentleman directly. Because what happens is, you can't necessarily just choose your date. The agronomist is sent to the Northeast, and he kind of goes on a tour through it. And it's almost always been in August that he comes through our area. So he'll be coming through our area is sometime in August, probably. And then we'll probably just get a similar date to what we've always gotten. Yeah, but
Is it the same guy that was here last time?
the last time, yeah, I believe it will be. I believe it will be.
Yeah.
He was good to work with.
They're
Oh, yeah.
a money-hungry organization.
Yeah,
They grab.
yeah.
I can't believe that.
That's brand new. That's brand new, John. I was surprised to see it.
Okay, folks, under old business, and at least in my best recollection, we'd reached the point where, and I was curious, I put it, especially in this context, would the committee wish to prioritize some of those long-term goals? And as far as short-term goals, the reason why I put it long-term, short-term first, I mean, you might argue the point that all those short-term goals might be imperative. I mean, you would want to act upon them, as much as possible immediately. So it might be a moot point to say, oh, I'm going to prioritize short-term goals. So whatever your pleasure. John?
My feedback would be that on the strategic plan,
Yeah,
you don't have to prioritize the goals.
okay,
The prioritization of goals comes on the Roman sheet, which is the priority sheet, which is the official Cranberry Valley document where the money is associated with each goal and what we're going to do by fiscal year.
okay,
I think the strategic plan is just to detail the things that are on our list that we want to get done short-term and long-term.
yeah,
Because there's really no
Okay.
specificity in the goals that, the way they're laid out now in the strategic plan. But there is specificity on the priority sheet.
okay.
And I think we make mention of that as a prelude to the goals and priorities by saying, the official document is the report that you use with town officials.
Right.
Okay.
That's my
Yeah.
comment,
Point well taken.
but people have a
With,
different view.
any other comments? I just had a couple, in terms of the short-term goals, because I think we added to this regarding the restroom facilities and so on. I thought that in the short term, because we discussed this within the committee, Roman, there's still with what we've got, I realize what we have is what we have, but still the idea of the crushed stone being included as a pad or whatever you want to call it in the perimeter, that might be a possibility?
I did not go out there, but I believe that it's been put on a crushed stone pad.
It has.
It
Yeah,
has.
yeah, it does.
Oh, okay, okay. And any other accoutrements? I mean, I had mentioned some simple landscaping that might be appropriate, I mean, just to dress it up.
Does that solve the problem short term then?
We still
Well,
have
I think.
water in-
It's making,
Yeah,
there's still water
yeah,
uh,
right, yeah.
in front of the
I get the
toilet.
impression that it was also the cleanliness of the restroom too that was a
Yeah.
concern.
Well, what was happening, John, is because we didn't have crushed stone, golfers on a rainy day or in the morning would go to it. Their feet were all muddy. They would walk in and it didn't, it was maybe mud, I would say. But it didn't look like mud, so it looked awful. Now with the crushed stone, you can walk to it and it doesn't carry that mud in so much. However, there is water standing there.
Yeah.
If you do have a little mud, it washes off onto the floor.
So we have these potbelly,
Porta potty,
What a box.
they're on what, holes number 4 and,
4 and
Between
14.
4 and 5.
okay. So the short term, that's the agreement then, right? We're heading in the right direction.
And-
I still think we should have a long-term goal of looking into permanent restrooms.
Well, we do. I put that down under long-term because I felt it was appropriate. And the other thing, because you guys brought it up and I thought it was perfect. I mean, we're in FY '23, we kind of got our hands tied, but I still like the idea in the world of porta potties to utilize one that has a men's urinal and another facility, you know, side by side. I was just down at Earl Street Beach the other day, and of course, those are permanent, but, you know, it's designated as men's and women's. So in the short term, I think that's a worthy goal.
So when we talk short-term, what is our window of time? Is it for the balance of this
A
year?
I would say, what, a year or less.
Yeah.
So we're talking for next year?
Calendar year?
Well, I mean.
July 1st to June 30th?
On these,
I would
particular
say
units,
calendar
we're
year,
contracted
because
through the
you can
season.
associate calendar year with the golf year,
Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
right? I mean, the golf year is basically April through what?
And I think that's what your contract is,
yeah,
right?
that's what.
We're contracted through the end of the season. I believe it's October 15th that they pick them up. So we're contracted with those units till October 15th.
But would we be thinking that if we're looking for a permanent structure, that we have to start now?
Well,
Oh.
permanent, I think
Seeking
would be more long-term.
Yeah.
Because my big question on permanent is that I don't think we should have to pay for that.
Or I
Yeah.
I think the town of Harwich is gonna step up, because when I take a look at what's happening at the community center.
Oh, sure.
Brooks Park.
Yeah.
All the beaches.
Yeah.
I agree.
Who's paying for that $150,000 facility?
We
I
are.
agree. And for example,
Taxes.
But I mean, it's coming out of some.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't
So
know
when
what
I,
fund it's
Right.
coming
Yeah.
out of.
and
It's
when I
not
did
coming out of
the,
beach stickers.
And it's,
yeah.
But
So when
don't-
I did the walk around,
and it's not coming out of recreation department.
No.
Well, the one thing I would mention, John, and Clem, you've been with me a million times in these capital outlay meetings and the budget meetings, is the finance committee is just adamant, and the capital outlay committee is adamant when we appear before them, golf pays for golf. I mean, that's like their mantra, golf pays for golf. So
But-
if this is a new idea, that's usually what we see with them.
Roman, do you know how the beaches got there?
No, I don't, but again, they're not, I would say they either went for community preservation funds, CPC, is that what that is? Yes, CPC funding, but, I don't, we could pursue that, but, their mantra has always been golf pays for golf, and if we pursue, I think what they've done is by allowing us to have our dedicated funds, it's kind of, well, now you won't compete for CPC funds. So, and again, I'm not sure that's exactly how they bought them.
I think it's worth exploring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you look at the volume of people that go through the course in a single day, it's probably comparable to some of the smaller beaches.
Sure.
And I guess I don't understand why if they're putting permanent structures on the smaller beaches, why we wouldn't be considered a candidate for that activity at the golf course.
I think
I
you're
agree.
right, Jack,
And-
because if you look at, there's more people going through the golf course than going to play tennis and pickleball,
Yeah,
and they've got new bathrooms.
Yeah.
yeah.
There's not that many people that use
Yeah,
that
I
facility.
understand golf for golf, but this is more like basic,
This is health.
basic,
It's health.
basic infrastructure.
It's health.
For,
That's really what it is.
Jack, it's health related, and more importantly, it's environmentally related as well.
I just think it's worth having that discussion.
Yeah.
yeah.
And we've never had it, but we could. I think community preservation funds is what we would seek out, and but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll look into that.
Because I think the last time we talked about it, somebody brought the figure that one of those little bathrooms was $150,000.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
And
John,
you-
I did the walk around when I was down at Earl Street,
That's how
because
much
I
they
wanted,
are.
I wanted to try to answer the big questions. What kind of capacity or containment structure is built in for the effluents? Do they have electric and do they have water?
Yeah.
And the answer is they have electric, they have town water. I don't know about the construction as far as the septic is concerned and so on. There's another little building that's all locked up, so it may be contained in there. But here's the point. Highway Department, I believe, has coordinated these efforts. As far as these, facilities are concerned.
Right.
So, I mean, I can reach out to Link Cooper. They've got to have facts and figures as far as what the actual costs were. Because they've been down this road how many times?
A lot.
And like you mentioned, Jack, with these smaller beaches, they're now all equipped, state of the art. So,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know,
it's, and if you count just volume, I mean, the volume is,
yeah, that's a good
to me,
point.
is comparable as to what they see at the small beaches.
Well, how do we get the ball rolling and what is our time frame?
Well, I would say that, you know, we could initiate that, you know, starting this year, just to get an idea of what all is involved.
Roman, do you have any idea of the process that the rec department, for instance, what's their process of getting the bathrooms over at the pickleball courts?
I believe that the rec department usually gets CPC funding, and that's community preservation funding. That's you know, there is some feeling that they get a unfair amount of that money. They get a lot of attention with that money.
I think they get a lot of, they
Yeah.
put lights in the
Yeah.
pickleball courts.
But
That's
we've never
expensive.
pursued that, but it was mentioned to me by the previous town administrator that the golf dedicated funds, like, you know, we have our infrastructure funds, so they set up these dedicated funds for golf so that we wouldn't compete for CPC funding. That's not, we haven't gone down that road before, though. We've never pursued
Yeah, but
CPC
I
funds.
think this is different than like the cot bond, I mean, that's
Yeah.
specifically, this is basic hygiene.
Yeah.
Right.
If you want to.
Yeah, that was golf operations specific, and I think that's where you can make the dichotomy.
Right.
You know, make the differentiation.
Well,
Okay.
you know, we have discussions in terms of the next budget, when, in September through December. When would you meet with the finance committee for the capital projects?
So a lot of that'll happen in November, December.
To answer Carol's question, I think what we should do in the meantime is find out what the cost of these buildings are,
Mhm.
right? And then,
Yep.
what's my other train of thought? But I mean, we should kind of do all our.
Yeah, the
surveillance
background.
Pre-
work prior to that meeting, so we can have a good discussion with finance then in terms of, you know,
I think, John, what just if I may be taking a leap here, thinking it is the CPC funding, but I think it is. If that's the case, I mean, again, in my years we were here, we've never gone down this road, but they've got their own committee that controls their funding, and so I'm sure they have their own application process. So if it turns out that is the appropriate way to go, we'd have to find out the application process for CPC funding and then engage that committee, because we've never done that before.
And Jack,
they probably have all the information.
Yeah, yeah.
and Jack, to your point, I think leveraging your point of view is the way to proceed. That it's a town affair. It's not just specific to golf.
Right.
And that's the way to approach it, you know, to get around the sentiment that's been expressed. Because, you know, with regards to that, it's been unequivocal, emphatic, but this is not specific, I feel, Roman, to golf. So, you know, we've maybe got an avenue an avenue to explore.
So do we have a time frame in which we want to get this accomplished?
Yeah, I would say,
I mean, Ron, can you talk to the department heads to see how they got their funding for the restrooms? Or,
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, let me look into what the CPC's time schedule is. I'll look that up, but I am quite sure it's the CPC, but I'll find out, yeah.
And then we could present it to the capital
capital outlay.
outlay
Yeah.
in November and December of
I
this year.
think it's a separate process,
Is it?
Martha. I think once it's CPC funding, you go down that road. It's a different
Oh,
road to go
okay.
down. Yeah, then capital outlay wouldn't deal
But at
with it.
least we'll know,
Okay.
you know?
At least we'll know.
At least we'll know.
Okay, and these were, I'm just synthesizing, Roman, since you weren't here, but as Carol would say, the low-hanging fruit. There was unanimous consensus. I mean, we didn't go into the formality of a vote, but looking at cart path renovations and in discussion, a point that you had made too, 1 and 10, you know, are still part of our focus in the short term. And with regards to, and it was really Roman's input that I tried to synthesize, where it exists, Paul, the idea of problematic cart paths that do exist, trying to get those repaired
Yeah.
or up to a standard that complements our carts. You know, since the two go hand in hand. So
Well,
how would you view that as a budgetary consideration for FY '24?
So, you know, so again, as John mentioned, you know, these are all ideas until they hit like the colored sheet, the priority sheet. And so I mean, you know, I don't know when we put this on here, but in FY '24, we've got cart path hole 10. And again, I want to check the price on that because I know as the price of gasoline goes up, the price of doing the cart paths goes up as well. So I have an old quote there of 41.5, and that was based on a $50 per linear foot, I believe. So yeah, so that's on there for FY '24. That particular path, hole 10.
Okay.
You know, if we want to, and I know that you know, we were working off the Munjum plan and what he did for what the plan he came up with for car paths. Yeah, we've got to get these on because these would be budgetary unless we can free up some money in our golf improvement fund. And the one thing I'd mention, you know, as far as you know, golf improvement fund. So we had a plan going with the previous town administrator, with the previous finance director, Carol, about how we were going to handle the debt for the upcoming upgrade to the irrigation system.
Yeah.
So there's a new finance director. I assume, I haven't met them yet, but I heard that they have hired somebody. Well, we're going to need to meet with them and sit and have a sit down and say, you know, we've been accumulating funds. We've got this much. Could you please provide a debt schedule for us for this project in FY '25? And Carol never provided us with the debt schedule, but she said the right thing to do was to accumulate the funds there. Now, once we get a debt schedule, and if we can do this through the current or through the new finance director, maybe we find out that there's some extra money annually in the golf improvement fund where we could start checking some of these projects off. But again, you know, as you know, the golf improvement fund, that money is only available at town meetings. So you know, if we do that would have to be town meeting articles.
That would be, you know, that would be extremely
Okay.
helpful.
That's the point I wanted to clarify, Roman. In the document you sent out, it's under this category of budget.
So, yeah,
So that means that this expenditure, 42, 50,
Yep.
whatever it turns out to be, would have to come out of the golf improvement fund.
no, so on the far right side of that we have $68,000 annually in capital outlay as part of our budget. That's part of our budget, and the line item it's under is capital outlay. You know, again, we can't plan to spend up to that because that's a very important line item for us. Where, you know, we had the opportunity purchase of the stump grinder out of that. Luckily, we had the money, and then you know, the jockey pump maintenance we've had to do out of that. So there's that's kind of a safety net in those regards. But currently on this plan, we do have the cart path roll 10 for FY '24 out of that $68,000. Now, if we chose to, I think another idea, if there was free money annually out of the golf improvement fund, is we could move some of those projects over to the golf improvement side, and they would just need to be town meeting articles. But again, we've just been accumulating money based on this $1.2 million estimated irrigation upgrade. You know, I think before we dedicate any money from that, we should get a sample or at least an estimated debt schedule for what we're going to owe on that possible 1.2 million.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a related question. In this update you gave us on the cot bond,
Yeah.
the total appropriated was 1.2 million. If I understand your numbers, the likely expenditure is going to be 1.1 or 1.1 and change.
Well, one thing
Are we able to take that money and allocate it for other purposes?
no, we're not, because it has to be, the scope of work has to be under the article that it was presented. So we don't have that, that money goes back into the golf improvement fund though, if that's what you mean. So any money not spent will go back into the golf improvement
That was
fund.
out of the golf infrastructure fund, not the nitpick, but this is the golf
True.
infrastructure.
Yep, that's true, that's true,
fine.
that's true. So they, let's see, they changed the golf infrastructure fund to a revolving fund, so it'd be easier to pay the debt on that. So that's a possibility.
But we charged $1.2 million in debt for this project, the golf course.
Yep.
We were.
Yeah.
We're currently paying the debt on the $1.2 million bond.
Even though we've only spent $860,000.
So
Yeah.
Jack's point, that other $100,000 should be our money though.
It will be, yeah, yep.
It comes,
Absolutely.
it does
No.
come back to us.
That being said, one thing I'd mentioned, Jack, and I should have mentioned this in the email I sent out, you'll see on the date on that, I haven't updated those finances since last October or something. So there's a few more, no major invoices, but there's a few more invoices I have to put on that. And before we start counting that, I think,
I just was trying to
yeah,
get the logistics.
well, I mean, that's another, do you want to cover that, Clem, when we, because I think that's the next agenda item, is the Cart Barn project?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want to cover that then, or do you want to continue
You
the
know, one thing you
discussion?
brought up, Roman, the debt schedule, we do have the debt schedule for the pipeline, is that right?
Yes,
You were referring to the debt schedule if we went through irrigation
Yeah.
pipeline.
yeah. That'd be a separate debt schedule, yeah. So what I want to do, we do have the debt schedule for the Cart Barn project, but what I'm trying to get out of the previous finance director and what I want to get out of the new one is a debt schedule. You know, based on we have this much money accumulated, we could put down on the debt, or we could, you know, dedicate.
For irrigation.
Yeah, for irrigation, yeah.
And John, you triggered a thought of mine. Roman, I apologize, I probably could have asked you earlier, but existing debt associated with our driving range
Right,
and the upgrades prior,
the old debt.
that retires,
I believe the I believe the last fit retires next week. I believe the only
Yeah.
debt we'll have is the
Yeah.
Cart Barn debt.
That's
The other
great.
question
which is, I think, you know what I mean, Martha, it's
I get the impression from the
symbolic.
former finance director that we had, was that the capital that we need to get projects done, like the cot bond, like irrigation, is not a problem as long as we have a program in place for our department to pay the debt,
Right,
right?
Right.
Mhm.
The debt service, rather.
right.
So, I mean, the town is comfortable with that position, I think.
She was, yeah. Carol, who I was every direction, even the town administrator directed me to the finance director on that, and she was very comfortable based on our revenues and based on our dedicated funds, and based on the fact that we are accomplishing the debt that we took on for the Cart Barn in 100%.
Right.
So yeah, she was comfortable with us taking on more debt.
Okay, and this came up, Roman, I'm just trying to, check off so that we're all on the same page. We had discussed it within the committee, in the planning session, the ongoing bunker restoration, because it's come up certainly as a topic within the group. And could you just bring us up to speed for the record as far as where Sean is, as far as that RFP is concerned? And I think the sentiment of the committee, folks, if I'm expressing this correctly, Jack, you had referenced the fact that we just kind of want to know where that work's going to be, and the important thing, I guess, is what kind of a schedule are we on, correct, folks?
Yeah, sure. So as you'll see, again, on the colored sheet, that money was appropriated for in FY20.
Yeah.
So that project has been delayed, and it was delayed for a number of reasons. You know, in the COVID times, I think more than that, it was delayed when we lost our town engineer. And you know, any RFPs that go out, and we'll deal with this when we do the RFP for the design for the putting complex and the short course. Any RFPs have to go through our procurement office, and we had a really hard time getting them to put out the RFP in a timely fashion because we don't want to do that project in season. Sean is pretty adamant that he wants that to be a fall project just because there's so much sod involved in it, and in the fall it'll have less disruption in play, and you'll have a better opportunity to have the sod take.
So in essence, he does not have any kind of in-house capability to engage in any kind of approach to that?
No, so we do. So he's, with the new fiscal year, the plan is he's putting all the specs together, and what we have to do is send them to the town administrator's office. He's gonna have all the specs on this project. He's gonna resend them to the town administrator's office, and we're gonna work with them on a timetable that we want this work done we want this awarded and work to begin in October.
Okay, and I'm not trying to stir the pot, but who has that primary responsibility for RFPs?
Well, the chief procurement officer, now that we don't have an engineer, because it used to be the engineer, is the town administrator, Joe Powers.
So
But-
he's not the assistant.
So he's the chief procurement officer, but we work with his assistant on submissions, and she does a lot of the legwork.
Okay. I just wondered.
Yeah, and to be honest, and I mean, I don't know if you read the article in the paper, this building is missing a lot of bodies. I mean, there's a lot of jobs unfilled in here. And it was so, I mean, a lot of our projects that have gotten done with a strong engineer in place. Bob Caffarelli, did all the cart barn stuff, and Griffin Rye, and when we don't have that position, it makes it difficult to get these RFPs done.
They've lost tons of
It's
positions here.
outrageous how they can't hire anybody.
Yeah,
No,
I know.
they're all
I mean,
leaving.
it's a good thing they're not coming out for election in November, they'd be out the door.
Well, our
Just elected in May.
our resources are compromised in putting out RFPs,
Yeah.
and we'll see that. I mean, we send them down.
How can you not
And-
have the director of finance?
Yeah, I hear that
They
they've hired
left
somebody,
and they
but
couldn't hire anybody, John.
Yeah, they gotta
Nobody
find,
wanted it.
yeah, you gotta find something. They were all going to other towns.
There's
which means
something
we're not paying enough.
internally going on here.
I think so.
Yeah.
That's a real problem.
It is
Say what?
problematic.
There's something internal.
People don't want to work here.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Is it that or is it the money?
I think they do not want to work here.
Well,
Whatever it
That's a
is, it's a
discussion.
problem that has to be fixed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I'm glad it's not on our watch in a sense. The next thing really,
But-
I'm sorry,
Not to
Jim.
belabor, but if we know this condition exists, can we expedite the getting the information to him so we don't end up having it go out in October and then we're doing it in December?
yeah, absolutely. So I just met with Sean this morning. We're currently getting the specs to their office for the new fiscal year. Because really, it's funny. This building, a lot of this is in end of fiscal year mode currently, and so at the first of the new fiscal year, we're going to get that right on their desk, all the specs, and tell them the timetable that we want, which is to begin work in October.
Okay, and the next topic, I'm deferring to Roman in a sense, and also to Jack, who had communicated to me that, he was very interested in a total analysis of where we stand with the cart barn. And from the planning committee interactions that we had back in June there, some of the things that we cited, Roman, were the security issues, lighting and the CCTV camera systems, budget reconciliation, the maintenance building reskin. We tried to cover all the bases, including that knee wall kind of application. Jack, did I miss anything?
No,
Okay, so,
the wash pad, yeah.
yeah,
So-
exactly, thank you.
So what we're currently working on, and I mean, I know you don't even have to mention it, a source of real frustration is a minor thing, but it's that gate. We're having a hard time getting the gate. If you see on the budget here for the project,
Yeah,
so we've got $20,000 in this for lighting and security. Now, the gate was not originally part of this
I know.
plan. It came on late. There's a pretty strong feeling that we can hire out, and right from the get-go, we can hire out to have this gate put in soup to nuts by an outside contractor for $15,000 to $20,000.
yeah.
So I've asked Sean to try to find some savings and have this gate fabricated himself and use some internal resources, such as Sean doing the trench work. And what we can't get this gate fabricated. We've had multiple appointments with companies. So what I've asked Sean to do is to get a quote for somebody just to come in and do it. What that could end up impacting is the ability to get the security done. And we're also engaging with a security company. I've got their contact here. So Abtech is a company that came recommended to us to do security. We've always done security in-house, and so what I'd really like to do is have them come in and do a more professional job. We normally have our internal resources purchase the equipment. So we get that $20,000 between this Abtech company, or if their quote comes in too high, and getting the gate done, and it's pretty tight. So
You have that contingency fund though, right?
yeah, but the one thing I'd say there, Jack, when you look at that is when you look at the reskinning for 150, that's an unrealistic number. So it's going to go for that. It's going to be we're going to need 200 for that at least. So that's why we're kind of doing this in stages. And I know it's a slower project, but so if what we're working on currently are the slab form protective coat that's on there, and the lighting and security component.
The slab coat is still up in the air?
Well, yeah. So I mean.
Yeah.
So we need to go 3 days with no carts in the cart barn to do that, and that's the difficulty. We're scheduling that, and then there's also a second process with that where we're going to do a two-ply coating on top. So.
Do you guys, know what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. It's smart with the type of carts that we have in-house.
It's a two-ply epoxy that's been recommended to us to go on top as well to really secure that floor. And what's going to happen is we're going to have to, in season, again, it's not friendly to do this because we would have to go days without the carts in the cart barn, which was easier when we had gas carts, but the carts have to go in the cart barn to charge now. So it's just, it's mid-season, it's not that feasible, but so that's still hanging out there, and then the $20,000 for the lighting and security is what we're looking at, and then I'm still on JJ Cardosi to get us a quote for the reskin, and then as you'll see in here, we've got then $20,000 for the wash station. I'd recommend waiting to see what's left at the end. I'd probably prioritize the wash station as last because we currently have a very acceptable.
It works.
System where we do it out on the easement by the 18th tee, between 17 and 18 on the easement. So that's where we do our equipment wash down. It works, and there's no real problem with that. So I'm going to suggest holding that $20,000 till the very end and see how the other projects come in.
I'm not saying we prioritized as a group, but there was a strong sentiment, although there was an objection from one of the committee persons. That security, the camera system and the lighting, that's really important. Regarding that, I personally don't think it's an over-exaggeration. What's your perspective on that? As far as securing the golf course facilities.
Yeah, so what I'm hoping to do with this company Abtech, that what we've got scheduled to come in and give us a quote, I'm hoping to have them take a look at both the clubhouse building, the driving range, the starter house building, which would be out of our budget. That side, that's not applicable to this project budget, and also to do the cart barn. So have all those buildings covered with security. I at least want to get a quote on it. I think that because we do have this money appropriated for the project, we would definitely get the cart barn done, and that would have cameras on the parking lot and on the solar field and the both entrances. But I'd also like to upgrade because the other buildings, because as I mentioned, we've kind of done it on the cheap where we've had our internal resources order security equipment from Amazon, and it's just not the quality that we need.
And I think with the amount of traffic in and around the practice facility.
Yeah.
That's important too.
Yeah.
I mean, as I remember last year, it wasn't major league, but there've been a couple of accidents there where people have hit each other with golf clubs accidentally, etc. And
we had the legal situation where a member threatened another member to kill him on it. So it'd be nice to have that on camera.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
If you ever did pull the trigger.
That's a good point. Let's not give anyone ideas. Okay, any other contingency check, yes.
Yeah, I don't know, it's not related to this, Rowan, but one of the other things that was brought up is the provisioning of the, the pro shop, especially with respect to
Oh.
ladies' equipment.
Yeah, okay.
Ladies' merchandise. Any thoughts on
Yeah.
who does that, or?
So we've had a few different people did it. When I first started, I did it myself because there was, I don't want to put names to it, but the previous assistant operations manager was in charge, it's in their job description. And when I came on, they didn't allow us to fill that position. So we hired Dick Fagan seasonally, and we had added that, so I took on the duties of the pro shop merchandise. When we had an opportunity to do an upgrade internally, Mike Saragin took that on a temporary basis. But now that when we hired Dick Fagan full-time into that assistant golf for operations role, he now has that responsibility. That's part of his job description, is that. And you know, what I would really suggest, and I'll suggest this to him, is to maybe, yeah, I've seen it at other clubs and I've done it before, is to have a few people from the Women's Association possibly
They have
join.
volunteered,
Yeah, I
sure,
mean,
they would love it.
okay. Well, you know, so we do a lot of our purchasing in the fall, so it'd have to be people that are around in the fall. That's when they have the trade shows and such locally. But that's, yeah, I'll suggest that then.
That'd be great.
Yeah, okay.
The other thing, sorry to monopolize this, but what about the mats on the
Driving range.
range? It's very difficult to get a tee in the mat
Mm-hmm.
now. Is it possible to get them with holes so that you can put those rubber tees,
Well,
or
one of the advantages
some
is
of the tees have a thing you can actually stick a real tee in the mat.
Yeah.
They're a little,
Yeah.
two pieces of plastic together or something like that.
one of the advantages of this type of mat is that it allows you to spread the wear, and when you have those permanent tee situations, you really get areas of wear on them. I can look into, you know, I mean, I think we've made a commitment to that line, that tee line. That tee line is in good health, and it's still got years of lifespan for it, and I think those other mats are inferior. I think I think this is a superior surface to hit off of. I think that the one issue is the tee. So I can look into solutions for the tee situation. You know, we could. I mean, I know the tee doesn't go down deep, but we could possibly sell really shorter tees that may
Yeah,
work.
I've been out there recently and I've heard guys going, Jesus, I can't even get my tee in here. And so you can play your irons, but you cannot hit a driver.
And what I think happens, Roman, is that people will step in front of the tees.
Or on they'll go
When you're on the
side.
tees, and that just eats up the grass on the
Yeah, okay.
driving range.
All right, I can look into solutions for that, but I'd look into solutions that work with the existing mat line, because it's a really high quality mat line that we have, and yeah, I could look into solutions with that. I mean, I'm not a fan of going back, backwards where we had the old metal stanchions between them and the mats. I mean, and those are really what ends up happening with those is, and I've dealt with those for a long time, is that people will take it upon themselves to cut them to the height that they need, and then you end up with jagged ones that balls don't sit on.
I've also
And
seen mats with like two pieces of plastic.
I've seen that pinch a tee, right?
And it just grabs the tee.
Yeah,
when you stick it
yeah,
in.
yeah.
You use your normal tee.
All right,
Some of those don't work either because they split.
yeah, they split.
So the tee doesn't fit in that
Yeah.
little
Oh, is there-
piece of
I
plastic.
haven't seen that.
There is
Yeah.
one that is like grass, and you can literally put your tee in anywhere. It just goes.
Let me look into it. So I can look into what solutions are in working with that. We still engage that company to come out and clean the mats and do service on them. So I'll see if they have any solutions or if they've come across any solutions there for a tee. I haven't had that problem. I mean, I've teed up balls into it. You kind of need to adjust to. You either need a short tee or you need to adjust to. So I get it.
Long tee wobbles.
Yeah, long tee's not good. Yeah, long tee's not good. All right. There's a solution there. I'll see if I can find it.
I'm trying to work down through the notes that we, so, it's probably as good a time as any, because it's so new. And I just, before the meeting started officially, I said to Carol, we recognize the fact that the food service, they're in the starting stages.
Yeah.
And, it was suggested, are there any ways that you think we could promote, raising the bar for him so that he's happy and he is successful?
Yeah.
Because I think it's really important
Have you had any
that he is
feedback from him?
successful.
Yeah, I've had a lot of feedback from him. I met with him yesterday, right when I got back in town, and I've had a really good dialogue with him. I'm very happy with the effort they're putting forward. They're putting forward really a strong effort. They're very committed. You don't have to look too hard to see what's going on. They're having staffing issues, and just as Ron did, they need more cooks. I mean, I see them all. It's a joke. Hey, have you found anybody that knows how to cook yet? I mean, so they're dealing with that.
They're supposed to get somebody today.
Yeah, he told me that. So, he was pretty excited about that. He's been. My experience in dealing with the food vendors, they're all a little sensitive, and he's very proud of his 30 years of reputation. And he feels like he's already being disparaged a little bit by the members, that he's not of a certain quality, providing a certain quality. What I've encouraged him to do, and he was again hesitant to do this, is to have like minimum standards for tournaments to say, not to allow our associations to beat him up on price and say, this is to say no. My minimum to serve is $25 a person. Because he vented to me a little bit that he got beat up on price, and I think he served like a tofu meatballs at an event, and he was not happy with the choice by our association to choose this kind of lower end option, and he wasn't proud of the food he was putting out because of that, because he was really beat up on the price over it. And so I probably said too much about that, but I've encouraged him to have, to have minimum standards and just say, if you want to hold an event, there's a minimum you have to hit as far as price, because for my reputation and for my standards. So I've encouraged him to do that. And again, he's a little hesitant. He wants to work with the groups, but I was very encouraging to him because I see a lot of effort out of them, and I see them really being successful as they go forward.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The most important thing, Roman, is, because this has happened a couple of times for me, in that we're playing late in the afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
is we
Time.
got to get the hours
Hours of operation.
when it's open and when it's closed. I know we went in for dinner because we had a late tea time, but we knew before we teed off that he was having pot roast that night, and he was keeping the restaurant and the bar open till 8 o'clock. So when we finished at 6:30, we were in there and we knew we could order something for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked out really well. So, but right now it's really ambiguous when he's open and what he's offering.
Perhaps you could post his hours on the website. There's nothing.
Okay.
I mean, the contract he signed
Yeah.
has pretty specific hours. I think he's supposed to be open till, I'm not saying they're realistic, but I think he's supposed to be open until 8 o'clock every night.
I believe the kitchen's only 4 though. I think as far as food service is only 4.
Maybe it's 4. Okay.
And again, I think it's very important to work with them because they're they're dealing with such staffing issues. And it's a beautiful day today. I was just at the golf course all the way till the minute I came here.
Yeah.
The place has been empty all day.
I know
it was empty this morning. I mean, they had a
Except for the
9-holers event. That
nine
was a big deal. But I mean, I had a meeting in the restaurant because it was just empty. So
It's really-
I don't think it's our position to say you must stay open later when they're really.
Well, you know what else? I think if we knew what time it was gonna be open.
Right.
We were there, like, I think we had played late and it was 5:30, so we knew we couldn't get anything to eat, but we wanted to get a drink. And so, but the women that were working there, and he was sitting there with his wife, they were furious that we were there because they thought they were going to close at 5 o'clock, 5:30. One of the women took out the
Vacuum?
vacuum cleaner and started vacuuming around and he was sitting there. And I thought, oh my God, and I could tell Cece was upset that, she kept looking at her watch, and I felt like saying, if we knew you were gonna be closed at 5 o'clock, we wouldn't have come in. We wouldn't have come in.
Well, I think, Martha, a lot of these issues are going to kind of are going to have a positive outcome when they start getting some business rolling through.
I
Because
hope so.
I know in working 5 years with Ron, basically what he thought was. Well, one of his big frustrations is, gosh, we're like a training ground where people train to be waitresses, and then they go elsewhere where they can make some money because they're not making any money there. And waitress wage is $4 an hour or something.
I feel sorry for those
yeah.
women. They make nothing.
So if they're sitting
no
there,
tips.
yeah, I know. So if
nothing.
they're sitting there for hours on end, and then people come in late in the day, it's
I
hard.
really
It's hard, I
feel
know.
bad for them.
I know
Because
it's hard.
they're working
Well,
hard.
we have everything to be gained by supporting and helping him in his effort,
Yep.
for sure. But he also,
It's gonna have to be
he-
open.
he's got to at least post his hours. And then hopefully this new cook is going to.
Work out.
Work out, because the quality has been sketchy. I've had a great breakfast and we've had a poor breakfast. We've had, I
You
was
can't
at
ruin a breakfast.
By the way, the vegan meatball thing was excellent. It was excellent. That was
Oh,
the one thing.
awesome.
It ran out and everyone wanted it.
Okay, he was sensitive that he received criticism for them.
For them?
No,
Everybody
he did.
loved
That was everyone loved them.
They couldn't get them.
He ran out.
Okay, I know people that took him aside and gave him a really hard time
Really?
for them.
Well,
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
silly.
Okay, I want to move
Of
things
course, there were
along.
only 2 women that ate vegan, so.
I've got 3 more items on my short list here. And we'll take a positive here, Roman. I know you're on top of this with the group within the committee, Jack Conley, John Crook, Steve Bellata, and Roman will be, giving us the basic outline of the RFP for the Munjum study of the junior complex. And as a side note regarding,
I thought Munjum wasn't necessarily.
well, excuse me, very correct, Carol, thank you. Whoever applies for the RFP.
Mark was nice enough to give us a quote so we could base an estimate on it. So he gave us the $30,000 quote a few years ago. But it'll have to be an RFP.
No, Steve was very adamant about.
That's true. It'll be an RFP that has to go out,
Yeah.
and we're not sure who will get it.
And it just a side note, I'm sure everybody saw it, but once again, Bill Galvin did a second part story on the initiative that we've taken. And I personally, it may vary with what you people experience, but I had a lot of positive feedback about the proposed short course, potential putting complex, et cetera. And that was unsolicited. So I think that's a positive thing. If you have the opportunity and you see this on tape, I don't know whether it's available, those that watched the US Open this past weekend, at various times, the president, is he president, John? Mike Wan,
Yeah, he's the-
Wan, he gave some comments that were very, very much, I thought, correlated with, what we're trying to do, what Mass Golf is trying to do, and it was, very positive. And he mentioned similar projects to the one we have undertaken. And you experienced the St. Andrews.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but the one thing that I thought was really neat, I was part of a presentation by the PGA where they were talking about their new facility, the new PGA headquarters in Frisco, Texas, and what they've done with their big master plan that they're rolling out is they set up a restaurant with an ice cream stand, and right next to it they have a 7,500 square foot putting complex. And the idea is just to introduce people to the game and say, hey, come on out and get some ice cream, and here's a line of putters, here's a bunch of balls. It's really golfer development 101. And then from there, they built a short course. And so, and their short course, one thing that's really cool about their short course, and I hope we'll get this far with it with the design. Their short course was could be negotiated with a putter. I mean, so they're 80 and 90 yard holes, but they said you can hit them with a putter, and it's just about golfer development to say, hey, why don't you learn how to play golf on the putting green and then come on out to the short course. I thought that was really cool. So they're doing a bigger scale version of exactly what we're looking at is to create golfers from step one to the big course.
Okay, and the next item was the Audubon initiative. We had discussed that, et cetera. And Steve Bellata volunteered to get us some information from Sean Fernandez, and everybody shared that copy. Any comments? Yep.
I have a comment. There are very few courses in the state of Massachusetts that have an Audubon certification. In fact, there are 17.
Yeah.
The last time Audubon certified a course was in 2017. Of those 17 courses, all but 3 of them are private. And I personally do not think we need to spend a whole lot of effort worrying about the certification. And in fact, in here, I think you say we already have our certification.
Well, it's a preliminary.
No, no.
Correct?
Since the golf course is Audubon certified. I mean,
Maybe I took it out of context, but I mean, it was based on the fact that we were at a point where we were able to use the logo on the scorecard. I think we have it.
Yeah, I mean, when I printed that on the scorecard, I just wanted to show that is a direction we're heading, and just to show, I mean, it's not a false claim, just to show, hey, we're a member of
Audubon.
Yeah.
It just says
Yeah,
we're a
but
member of
in
Audubon
here
International. We're not
it
claiming
says-
that we're a sanctuary golf course, so.
And it was 2017 was the last one that was Maya Comet in Nantucket.
Yeah.
So we have 400 golf courses in the state of Massachusetts. 3 public courses have a certification. I think Sean is doing everything he can possibly do to make sure that we're trying to eliminate any negative impact to our golf course. And I think we should just trust it. I don't think it's a really major thing we should be putting our effort toward. It's just me.
I think it's a great goal, and we're working towards it. And what's going to happen is when we make some of these upcoming changes, such as the irrigation upgrade, that's really going to lessen the water usage on the golf course, and that's the type of stuff they want to see. So that is going to help with Sean with the application for it. But that stuff has to happen, and you can't rush it. So I think it's something that Sean's really engaged in
It's
doing.
not going to happen for 3 to 4 years
Right.
in order to be, even to get them in
Yeah.
to review it.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with Carol and what she has said, and I know I sort of gave this to Steve because I've met with Sean, and I, took the task that you gave me when I first came on the committee. And he says, I'm doing everything I can to get it certified. And I trust him and I believe him. And I, if we get it, great. If we don't,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
not the end of
not
the
the
world.
end.
Every year we take steps. We're currently, on the current budget, we have the money to be 80 to 90% organic in what we put down on the golf course. Those are the steps you have to take. And so, we've just got to accomplish these things, and these all build to the application. The lessening of the water that we need to put on the golf course when we do achieve the new irrigation upgrade will probably be the final piece that we need for the application. But you need, unfortunately, as Carol just mentioned, with the facts that it's hard. It's a hard thing to do, and it takes a lot of time to lessen the resources you're putting on the golf course and to make a change. And that's what we're trying to do is really to make a change with the environment of the golf course.
Exactly. Good stewards. And as a side note, personally, and I think there's a sentiment out there in the community for the non-golfers, because you mentioned environment. Jack, I can't tell you how many times various selectmen have said, boy, you guys are on the right path. We've gone down this road for quite a while, and to Martha's point, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I think you don't want to sever.
I think we
And
just stay
abandon.
the course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Stay the
Using the
course.
guidelines, I see no
Exactly.
issue with that.
Yeah.
Right.
We're on the path, and I
Yeah.
think this is one of the things is it doesn't affect us so much in this room or the golfers at the golf course,
Right.
but it's a real feather in the cap of the town if we
Really?
did. So yeah,
That's all it did.
Yeah, that's all.
Well, and that was initially what it was designed to do, to help to create a degree of separation, us and them. All those other municipals that just basically, they cut the grass, they do the minimal to keep costs down.
I think the points have been well made. It may be a reach, but I think you almost need the motivation of trying to achieve it,
Yeah.
to continue to do the good things that Sean, and I trust him as well. I think he's a top-notch pro. I've watched him in action over the years, many, many years. You almost need to be trying to do it to continue to make progress. And, if we eventually get there, fine,
Yeah.
but it's not the end of the world.
And
And I think we need to have that as the goal,
Yeah.
even though it's a wicked reach.
I think
I just think we don't need to worry about it every meeting. I think we just let it ride.
Well, it came out of the planning
Always
session,
stay
I
on
think, in a
with
sense,
Sean.
so,
And I do think, as Paul mentioned, I think that we do keep reaching for it, because I know, Sean is committed to it, and
He is.
he'd love it to be a legacy item for him. He'd love for this to be something that he gives to the town and says, here, in my time here, we achieved this.
yeah. Well, this is a good segue to the last thing I had,
I'd like
which
to
was,
know what the steps are to become water bond certified.
Oh,
what's all
he's
this-
got the whole list of
It's
it.
huge list.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's-
huge.
It's pretty complicated. But included, because Roman just mentioned it, are the irrigation upgrades. And this was on our, list, if you will. Obviously, Sean is working on that RFP for that purpose. And I think, probably for budgeting purposes, I think one of the central questions is, ballpark idea as far as how much is it going to cost, because we'll be discussing those money issues going forward.
Yeah, okay, so, I did present this a while back, that we had a quote for $1.2 million
Yeah.
for it.
Yep.
So that's the number we're dealing
So
with,
that
and that's the number we'll
yeah.
take to the finance director for a debt schedule, is 1.2 million.
Okay. Okay, folks, and lastly, under long-term goals, I think because Jack mentioned it before, within the clubhouse room, when we discussed, possible additions to or replacement of the decking, with the newer plastic type AZEC, et cetera. We mentioned the roof. One thing that came out because Jack had some insight here. You know, and this kind of tags in with the capital outlay plan. Is it feasible to put in a cost-effective generation backup system? You know, not necessarily a big deal permanent structure, but even a contingency plan. Because somebody mentioned that, you know, the last time we had power failures, they brought in some portable generators. I mean, if that's good enough, fine, but, you know, it's just kind of up there.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be great to have a power generator, a system, but, you know, I think things are changing pretty fast in that industry
I
where.
know the technologies
I
are
mean, the
changing.
technologies are really moving fast. I'd hate to, you know, I think Sean Libby a few years ago gave us a number of 75 grand, 75 to 125 grand. That's a big number to dedicate, especially when the technology's changing so much. And we've got that big solar field. I mean, I'm hopeful that in the future there'll be an affordable battery type system. You know, I don't know if I dedicate that, and I don't know where it would go in our funding.
How about this one? I thought of this, Jack, too, after the fact, because I failed to mention it. But collateral to that discussion, and this is way back in March, I believe, I had a sit down with Sean Libby, and if you remember, folks, regarding the clubhouse, the HVAC system, is that potentially something else
Yeah.
for?
So I think that's on this list.
It's on-
right?
Is that's on the list?
Fiscal year '24.
Yeah, FY24, I've got the HVAC split unit, and I spoke with Sean Libby. I think I put that on there
Yeah.
when he told me that last year. He's recommending that we upgrade to two split units for the building from our old system that just really struggles to keep the building cool or heated. But that's on here, and he quoted me $15,000 out of the golf improvement. I'm sorry, out of the golf revolving fund.
Okay.
To do that work.
Okay, yeah. And not to go backwards, people, but I just happened to think of it. Regarding the clubhouse itself, I noticed, for example, the staircase situations.
The railings.
Railing.
Yeah.
Railing
Okay, so
situation.
I'll have to check on those. I called in, you know, I mean, my state, you know, we have to go through our buildings manager on those things, facility manager on those things. I called in a work order before I left because the railings were
Okay.
loose. And I always have to follow up, so I'll follow up to make sure that work got
Well,
done.
thanks. I just, you know, it came up, and I think it's a legitimate concern because of the insurancing.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, no, and that was something that was brought up to me brought to my attention by the restaurant folks. So you know, they've brought a lot of items up with me, and I've called in a lot of work orders to our facility manager based on things in the clubhouse that are needed. But I don't remember Sean Libby telling me that I think I remembered Sean telling me that he thought the decking was in good shape.
Oh, it's yeah, I was just looking beyond that,
Okay.
you know, like 25-ish. And I guess that discussion emanated out of the idea, because we had mentioned it before, you know, the weather curtains
Mhm.
that might provide a better environment for, you know, functions on the deck, you know,
Right.
thinking of the restaurant operation and so on, so. you
Right.
know.
Actually, that was one of the things we talked about looking into, I thought in the shorter term.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, and I might have missed that, Carol, because I just happened to think of it now.
It's under Pro Shop upgrades.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I've got it there. I didn't miss it, okay, good. So that, you know, that takes us to the last thing, Roman, and I guess your insights would be helpful, but reviewing the capital plan as is, other than a couple of things that we mentioned long-term, I don't see that changing much, do you?
Well, I mean, I think I had a pretty in-depth conversation with Sean today on the needs of the golf course going forward, and once we do this bunker upgrade this fall, and then, you know, start putting some cart path, further some cart path work, on our list here. You know, what we can do this upcoming fiscal year is start looking at year 6 of the capital plan. So,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
and that's going to go hand in hand with this debt schedule. We really got to get that debt schedule and see how much money that we're going to have dedicated to that project and how much money we're going to have available out of the golf improvement fund. So,
And at town meeting, am I correct, Jack, they compressed the capital plan window to?
yeah, 5 years
5
instead of
years.
7.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So this year we're going to be asked for year 6, or what, you know, what's currently year 6, but will be year 5 in the new fiscal year for additions to that plan. So we'll need to get that debt schedule to really know what we're doing with it for money.
Okay, perfect.
Roland, could you, again, I'm looking at this
Yep.
document. Under fiscal year '23, or let me ask, is the pro shop upgrades done?
Fiscal year 23.
This is fiscal year '22.
All right, 22. We have one outstanding item. We have a large
Oh, that's.
hat rack still coming up. I'm fighting like hell to try to get it shipped here and not pay too much for the shipping.
Tell them the number you got.
Yeah, I think it was over $5,000 to ship it. It was so.
What is it?
Well,
A hat
I mean,
rack?
it's
a hat
a
rack. It
custom
only
made.
costs
It's
$50.
custom made by the company that built our countertops, and so.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's going to be very nice, but they quoted us $500 shipping, which was bad enough, and then they said, yeah, that number fell through.
And how much did it cost, Roman?
How much does it weigh?
Yeah, it's big and heavy, and yeah, so I'm fighting with them a little bit on shipping because I got a text message when I was in Scotland to approve the shipping for $5,000. I said, hell no! So I said, stop everything, no. So we're looking for alternatives there, but that's the FY22 upgrade that was following the master plan we had for the pro shop. And then, you know, there's things in FY23 I have on here, such as the purchase of the restaurant equipment for $20,000. That really started with, you may all remember this, that started with Ron Leidner's old stuff that would make it a turnkey operation. Well, Jake's, they didn't want to wait for, they didn't want any delay in their opening, so they didn't want to wait for the town's needs to be met, which are an independent evaluation of the cost of goods there. So I'm working with them. They actually put me in touch with one of their food vendors, and he's still working on this number. And I've been told by the assistant town administrator that once all the boxes are checked there, we will then buy this. And from Jake's, we'll buy all the items that will make this turnkey, and it's approximately $20,000. And then for the first time in the new fiscal year, we're allowed to make expenditures for driving range equipment and upgrades out of the Pro Shop revolving fund. Now, that doesn't mean the floodgates are open because they did not increase our annual spending out of that fund. So I'm going to try for a modest $15,000 towards the driving range in year 1 and just see how that affects our overall spending. But the upgrades that I have in mind we're just desperately in need of more range balls. For one thing, and you know it's funny with all of the with all the supply chain issues, golf balls are really in high demand, and the companies can't make enough of them. What they've stopped doing is making range balls that are sold for less price. So the big companies that we all deal with are not making range balls anymore. So unfortunately,
I have a 5-gallon bucket, I'll give you.
yeah,
I have
please,
1,000
please, we'll take them.
used.
So
Do you want them?
yeah, we'll take them. Yeah, we do take
Good.
donations. So yes, so I'm hoping that to buy more range balls and then to upgrade our machines for payment options. I think really the payment options on our machines need to be upgraded. So
I was, so that you could use your Apple Pay.
that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for that, and we'll discuss more ideas that I have for that when it gets into rates and fees. But I'd hate to put on tape here that the ways that we're being taken advantage of, but I think the range membership is something people are taking advantage of us on. That, you know, really, you get 4 people that play regularly, and they all chip in 1/4 on a range membership, and they come in and get tokens, and you know,
Oh, you're
and
kidding.
I mean, I'm guessing. I think that there is. I think we're being
They're
taken
scamming
advantage
the
of.
system.
And our system is scammable in that way. So, you know, when we talk rates and fees for next year, you know, a lot of the other municipalities around us don't do a range membership. What they do is they do discounts for bulk purchases,
Right.
and then everything's trackable that way.
I
And-
thought, you know, I liked it when we did that. You know, we got a discount if we bought 20
Yeah.
tokens, you
Yeah.
know.
How do you identify a range member?
So when they buy a range membership, their name is added to a list, and we have the list in both the starter house and the pro shop.
Yeah.
And in general, this is a policy I inherited, and I'm not a big fan of it because I think we're taken advantage of. But they can get up to 6 tokens per day when they come out to and a lot of people that buy this are really dedicated practicers, and a lot of people.
Are
you
they
know,
giving the
but-
tokens
and
away?
they're given 6 tokens. So
You can get 6 tokens a day?
a day, yeah.
That's $48.
lot.
That's
Yeah.
$48 a day they could get.
They could. Now that being said, most people don't go to the golf course just to get tokens, but I think the door is open there for manipulation.
Oh
And-
my
yeah,
gosh.
yeah, so there's a lot of
We'll
systems
have to
that
get
are
our
out there.
friends together.
There's a lot of systems that, well, we're gonna shut this door.
Ideas.
We're gonna shut this door. So, there's a lot of systems that are out there that will track the purchases, or if you say Martha, you bought, 200 tokens on a bulk deal, you'd get a PIN number for your 200 tokens, and you wouldn't need the tokens, you just go
Oh,
type in
I
your
see.
PIN number. There's a lot of systems like that, or it comes at Apple Pay, but the PIN system, it seems better for tracking, every individual bucket and not this unlimited. So what it's been is
They
unlimited.
can share their PIN though, that's the problem.
Yeah, but it'll count down. So if they bought a
Yeah.
200 buckets bulk,
it's being
it'll
used
count down
as
off the 200.
You
Yeah,
count.
it won't be unlimited.
And historically, the interesting thing, as far as how this policy evolved, was there was so much complaining, you know, why did they expand the driving range and so on, and the costs involved and the debt involved? This was a way of showing on paper that, look, we're getting a return. Here, you know what I mean, a
Yeah.
bulk sum of money. For example, with X number of members, how much do we generate in terms of, I can't remember offhand.
I'm sorry, for range balls?
No, for memberships.
Okay, for memberships, it's around 800 grand.
Yeah, see, so I mean, that became a very emotional, sellable kind of,
Yeah.
you know, perspective. But I think obviously, we've reached a break point.
I'll tell you a funny one. Just I won't bury you with stories here, but a funny one is that somebody, and my staff they're such bulldogs about finding out who. They found out that New Hampshire state highway tokens will work in this thing, and these tokens. Here's the funny thing: these tokens, I looked them up. They've been out of use for 20 years, and we pulled them out of the machine and put them aside, and there's still these highway tokens ending up in the machine. And so and I looked on eBay. Somebody can buy them. So they sell them on eBay for 35 cents each.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So we got to shut. Here I am. I've exposed our secrets. I've exposed. We got to shut that door. And so when we talk rates and fees for next year, we'll.
People must lie
gosh.
awake nights. How
Yeah.
how can you think of these
You
things?
say $5.
God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Is there any other business?
Did you put in the range net, or is that to be done?
So
That's done.
the range net is done. What I've got on here is the back of the range net. So we were given a quote, and I got that down here for FY24. That's just a placeholder, but we were given a quote for a 6-foot net to go around the back of the range to help us preserve range balls, because really that's an area we can't really very well
Maintain.
get balls back from, because you can't maintain it because it's an environmental area.
About hiring high school kids with a ball picker?
Well, so we had a staff meeting last year, and we invited the staff out an hour early to help go in the woods and pick balls, and I joined them, and we bought pizzas for everybody that attended, and it's hard to get balls out of there. I mean, it's just all thorns, and never mind the ticks. It's all thorns and ticks. I wouldn't want to hire people to go in there to
Where you got your
And
yeah.
the alligators.
ticks.
Yeah.
There are alligators then.
So we'll see. I mean, range balls are crazy expensive and difficult to get right now. So it'd be helpful to have a net back there. But again, we were given a price for $30,000 for it. So
You can do like they do in Florida, flood it,
yeah,
and get the floating balls.
yeah, aqua range. I worked at the
Yeah.
course that had an aqua range.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I like that, Jack.
So, Roman,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Dick is in charge of updating the website on an ongoing basis, or Mike, but things like Tom Johnson is still on the golf committee, on the website, and,
On the golf committee website, or on
no,
the,
on the website, if you look up golf committee, Tom Johnson is still on there.
I'll have to look at that. So
Yeah.
I'll make sure I find. I didn't realize the golf committee members were listed on that
Well,
website.
I just did a search under our website and
Okay.
under golf committee, and his name.
So I'm wondering if that's on the golf committee website or if that's on cranberryvalley.golf.
Well, I went on our Cranberry Valley Golf Course website.
Yep. Okay.
And in search, I did that, and
Okay.
that's.
All right.
But-
I'll try that myself because I don't remember a place that lists the golf committee members on
And
it.
also, if you, as we've discussed, if we could get Pete to put his hours of operation daily, weekends, that, I think that would be very, very beneficial
Okay.
For him,
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
I'll mention that to him.
I mean.
Okay, folks, anything else? Okay, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, second, Paul White, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.